A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangushampagi. And tonight we'll be discussing with a panel of two guests, both ladies, and we'll be discussing women and politics. But before we begin, some major developments that we need to make comment about before we start the show. And I introduce the guests. One is that ride on the Observer newspaper last night. Of course, very few answers at the moment, but we will keep following. Very sad and concern, and it's a cause for worry that an office of a newspaper can be raided and 15 computers taken, and we don't know yet what has happened. Maybe some details will become available later. Another issue that we'll need to keep focus on is Kizza basically gets arrested again today, or not arrested, but really inconvenienced a little bit when he escaped from his home. And the rest of us were significantly inconvenienced because moving in town on a Sunday and finding traffic snarl-ups because of, and then you learn later it was because of Kizza Besigye, is another matter of concern. And maybe the other issue, of course, the pupils who will be beginning their examinations, maybe we'll comment about that later. And lastly, is that you have a major election having the first woman candidate on the ticket in more than 240 years, and the debate that, the discussion that is unraveling both campaigns is still about women. Let me introduce, tonight with me in studio. Let me start at the extreme end. Onapito Ekomloit, Corporate Affairs Director, Nile Breweries, SABMela.
Good evening, Charles, and good evening, viewers.
Regina Bafaki, Executive Director, ACFOD.
Good evening, viewers, and how are you, Charles?
Very nice to have you in studio here.
Thank
ACFOD
you.
is one of the premier women activist organizations. I can't pronounce ACFOD in full. What is it?
Action for Women.
Action for the Women. It's just simple. That's
Yeah.
it. So very good to have you. And Anne Adeke Ebaju, National Female Youth MP. Very nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
Hmm?
I'm glad to be on the show.
Yes.
Good evening, viewers.
Honorable Anna Adeke Ebaju. You know, Ona was in Parliament. He represented Amuria many years ago. So he's very qualified to refer to you as honorable, and you refer to him as honorable. The rest of us will be
Ordinary.
the rest of us are ordinary people. So
Anna will work.
we're asking the question, has affirmative action in this country and globally run its course? Should we still talking about affirmative action? And the basis of that question is, what does the myriad of women representation at every level, women activism over the last so many years, is it still impactful? How much has it delivered in terms of dividend to the women folk, but to humanity as a whole? Ona, let me start with you. You started.
How can you start with two eminent ladies, well qualified to articulate issues of women? Look, Charles, I don't mind. Because
And that's
I'm
exactly the
always-
problem.
I'm
Women articulating issues of women. Should they be issues of women?
But I think actually
They're national issues.
Men should best articulate issues of women. Well, I think the greatest blessing to mankind is a woman, you know? Because we start from the word go with a woman as a mother. Ultimately, we have as maybe a beautiful sister, then we have the most critical stage as a wife or as a lover, and then at the end of the day again you have this beautiful daughter. So women are central to our lives. But I think the debate sometimes gets overblown, really, because I believe that on every issue that has been debated about equality, human rights, abuse, whatever, women have actually been on both sides. I don't think there's ever been a society where women are exclusively on one side and men on one side. So whenever there has been good, women have played their role. Where there has been bad, women have also played their role. Because I can tell you, on every political, socio-economic divide, there are women. Sometimes in situations where other women have complained of being oppressed, the other side also has women to it.
You know, now that you raise that, I remembered what should actually have been the fourth issue I wanted to comment about before we started the show, beyond the American election, is the very interesting exchange between the Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari.
And his wife.
Yeah, and his wife, yes.
The wife gets herself out of everywhere and decides to comment about the way he's running the party and the country. And says he's discarded all their friends and brought on people they were not with. And then Buhari is with the German Chancellor, and they ask him the question, what does he say? And Angela Merkel is shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is stunned actually. Shocked is not the right word.
rightly observed that she belongs to my.
He said, I don't know which party, where she belongs
Where
in
she
my party,
belongs,
in the
where
party.
she belongs, yeah.
I know she belongs to my sitting room, to my kitchen, and to
my
the other room.
Yeah, and I think the point there is that sometimes the most critical decisions that a leader takes have a bearing from their family and from their spouse. So if the guy is actually making some wrong decisions, she may partly be responsible because we talk to our spouses, we talk to our children. And I think the Americans are perfecting.
Yeah.
They're actually making politics a family business. The
And-
campaigns are run by the family. So you can't exclude women when good is done, and you can't exclude them when bad is done, in my view.
Anne, would it be right to describe you as a beneficiary of
Rightly
affirmative
so.
action?
Rightly so, Charles.
No,
Especially
you
for
were a leader
this.
in Makerere.
Uh-huh.
Wouldn't you have been elected MP whether you stood on the affirmative action slot or just as a youth MP or a general elected MP? Wouldn't you say?
Yes, I think I would still have high chances of winning such an election. But as it stands now, with a position that I occupy, yes, I'm a beneficiary of affirmative action. Because, first of all, the youth seats are affirmative action in themselves. And then this particular one for the National Female Youth MP is specifically for female youth, girls, and young women. So really, I am a beneficiary. Although my credentials would definitely put me on a good position to compete for a directly elected seat, but as it is now, I'm a
That's how it is.
beneficiary.
And sometimes people are looking at that and saying, well, Anne got there because
Because,
she's a lady.
well, one,
Because she's youth.
the position is only for ladies, first
Yes.
of all. So I can't have gotten there because I was a lady. I think I got there because I was good enough.
You're good enough.
Yes.
So wouldn't you advance after, Regina, let me come to you, after so many years of advocacy for affirmative action, hasn't affirmative action run its course?
Charles, I am a bit hesitant to say that has run its course. Reason is that we still have challenges as a country. We have the women or the girls who would be benefiting maybe in terms of accessing leadership positions or even competing, but because of the challenges that we still grapple with, they are unable to get it. And therefore, affirmative action is still relevant because we see the issues of culture, where you still have men, including women, not appreciating the women or the girls to be part of the public sphere. And for that matter, that's why you see that some of them are actually challenging the women who contest for the direct seats. And you can see the number of women that we have who have competed for the direct seats are fewer.
How many are they in parliament today?
They are
Let's-
9.
No, I think they've increased to about 12.
Okay.
Just 12.
Just 12.
Yeah.
Just 12.
But compared to the previous, there were about 6, 7.
Why? Now, that raises the critical question. If you have gotten the orientation, I don't expect Anne here. If you're running to be in the 13th parliament, this is the 10th parliament. If you're running to be in the 12th or 13th parliament, that you'll be seeking an affirmative action seat. But you should have built the necessary
Capacity.
foundation and capacity to be able to
Propel you.
move beyond, to propel you forward.
Yeah.
But what you're dealing with is, in the parliament in which you sit, you have people who started with the 6th parliament. They're still in parliament on the affirmative action ticket. And people asking, is this affirmative action or something? We should change that name.
Well, Charles, we're speaking about affirmative action, but I think we should think about it broadly, more broadly than just leadership and more broadly than parliamentary representation, because those numbers are deceptive. You would think that, oh, now women are featuring in decision-making processes in our country. But in actual sense, no, that's not really what happens. That's not what happens behind the closed doors. Decisions are actually made by men, and very few women feature in the actual decision making. I mean, at the helm of everything. It's right that affirmative action should stay. I think it should stay. It just needs to be checked. Okay. For instance, you cite people who have benefited from affirmative action for over 20 years, and you're still contesting. I think it's important for them to, since they have gained capacity, to propel themselves to another level and leave this space for more vulnerable people, new entrants, to be able to exploit.
Is that the discussion you're having within the women's movement, for example?
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. That is a discussion we are having. Actually, there is discontent over the women who have overstayed on the affirmative seat. But we are also questioning the ability of the other women to contest, because one, the political parties which would be supporting them have not done that. The women who have been in the affirmative seat for over 10, 15 years have not mentored the others. But you're also saying, has the society changed to be able to appreciate women so that they can support them even beyond the affirmative action? But we are also forgetting that it's not only the women who have been on the affirmative seat that have been in that position for over 10 or 20 years. There are also men who have been in those seats, and they are not being questioned. So we are saying, much as we are interested in seeing more women occupying or contesting for more leadership positions, would like to see even the men being tasked and questioned why they have.
Well, if they can compete and win, then you say maybe because they are competing and winning. And then everybody should be at some stage. You shouldn't be continue having that push that delivers you to electoral victory. But Ona wanted to cut in, I think.
Yeah, Charles, mine is more about the end more than the means. I think this affirmative debate, why has it run its course, has it not run its course, is really about the impact. And I think the affirmative action was meant to raise the all women across the country, not just the occupants of positions. So if they're in positions and they are not doing enough to allow other women to gain capacity to compete, then affirmative action will just be a means. It will not be an end. So I think what is important is to make sure that a young girl looking at Honorable Ebaju and what she does in Parliament, and other women legislators and other women who have been helped by affirmative action, they must be creating enough environment, enough economic conditions for other women to be able to get income, for example, because politics at the end of the day is, among other things, you need money. So I believe many women will be able to compete with men in constituencies if they have the economic power to run an election.
Which lends the question, how much are you doing to actually enable more women to come up and compete? All the controversies around Parliament that we've been dealing with recently, the debate pivoted and went between the apparent collusion between the opposition and the ruling party in agreeing to extra packs. Other special interest groups, women, youth, the army, workers, silent. And you're wondering and saying, okay, we have representation in that house.
Well, you see, Paji, I don't think you should separate the special representation from the whole, because they're representing in the whole system. And my view is that the whole system is defective. We are speaking about patronage that has crippled the entire legislature. So you cannot say that you cannot expect a lot more from the special interest group representatives, because they're in this system and the whole system is rotten. But about affirmative action, I think we need to broaden it beyond political representation, because I think that affirmative action at its onset, having women in parliament, was still politicized, that we lost the actual point. If we are looking at empowering girls, women in this country, how have we made our education curriculum? How have we made it accommodate that? Because until now, when you go to a school, they will teach children that the head of the family is the father. And you see, when we keep that is wrong. Because what then happens to households that are headed by women? Actually, most households run on the output of a woman, especially in the rural settings, which are the majority in this country. So in actual sense, women are the heads of the family.
The actual question being asked is the idea of having women, in the words of President Museveni and others, and if you take it to the discussion, Nairobi 1985, where Mama Mary Obote was represented this country, where the women movement started, Beijing, Beijing 1995?
1995,
1995. The discussion should have been, how has this attempt to move women from the kitchen to the table to discuss actually impacted even in terms of the education curriculum, policy discussions, and actual decision making, where you started from. And we're wondering and saying, okay, you have people who are sitting in these positions, you sit in parliament, there are people sitting in local council threes, there are people sitting at district councils, there are people like Regina, whom some would accuse of saying, no, you've built a career in women activism. And they're saying, to what effect?
That's not even...
representation, like Ona talked about it. I mean, being able to mentor people or being act as a role model is one important thing. But beyond that, you need some more concrete, solid things to put on the ground and say, in these years of activism, we have moved this journey, and it's a journey we can't roll back. Do you see that evidence? Can you produce evidence and say, we have actually been delivered to a level where we know?
As a result of affirmative action, yes, there are results. There is an impact, because some of the gender-responsive policies and laws that have been passed in Parliament have been as a result of the women leaders we have there, as a result of affirmative action. At the local council level, we have women who have occupied those positions as a result of affirmative action. And we see them influencing decisions, programs, even go beyond to monitor what is being implemented by government as a result of affirmative action.
Would you say the girl child is in a better place today than they were 20 years ago?
Yes.
Would you say that humanity broadly?
Yes, they are.
Would you say that humanity broadly is in a better place? Because you don't want to be lifting up one person. The idea that you lift up special interest groups.
Actually, that's my challenge.
Yes, you lift up special interest groups is to just make sure that the society as a whole is moving together to some direction.
But the challenge is that when you are trying to lift the other, it's because you are trying to address the imbalance that has been there. So you cannot talk of the society having all changed at the same level. No, because if you lift the other part of the society, you are trying to address the challenges that they have been experiencing, and therefore that's what we have been doing. And until we have, for example, the 50-50, that's what I think you are trying to point at, we shall be talking about the equilibrium, which is of course not possible at the moment, because we still have challenges.
Let me just put this before you take a break. Just before you take a break. As activists in civil society, were you concerned about the loud silence of women representation in parliament on some of these controversies?
We are concerned because we expect a lot from them. They are representing us, and therefore we expect them to deliver on the mandate that, for which they were voted. Like, for example, we are
they delivering on that mandate?
Partially.
Partially.
Partially. And partially it's because of what Honorable said, patronage. They are working in a system that has
corrupted.
that has sort of manipulated them. Some of them haven't even up to now known why they are actually in parliament. They think they are there to represent everybody. And therefore, if they think they are representing men, women, boys and girls, it becomes very difficult for them to deliver.
I'm afraid I'm going
Yes.
Yeah, a quick one. I think I just want to emphasize the point that at every junction in history, we should not isolate men and women from a problem. Look at the French Revolution, we're all familiar with it. The famous Marie Antoinette. That is captures the role of women on the negative side, but there are also immense contributions women have made in history. So to try and isolate women when there's a problem and say they are not part of it or they are victims, I don't agree.
No, I think we only have the two guests being ladies. But the broader discussion is affirmative action.
Yeah.
So even the youth should be on the spotlight. Persons with disabilities should be on the spotlight. Workers especially. There are some significant concerns about workers' representation and the effectiveness in representing workers, which should be a major question of concern. But when we come back out of, after a short commercial break, we'll be looking at, we need to expand this discussion to look at the global context of this affirmative action, and especially breaking the glass ceiling for the women. After a short break. You're still watching The Fourth Estate, and we'll be opening our phone lines so you can call us and share with us your own views and comments and ask some hard questions to the guests in studio, but also on the topic. Has affirmative action run its time? Is it time to dispense with affirmative action? And we're looking at it from the largest demographic group to benefit from affirmative action, which is the women representation. Today, you're talking about 115. About 115 women elected purely on the basis. 117, thank you.
No, the two.
Elected purely on the basis of them being women, on the affirmative action seat of district woman MP. You have a national youth MP, a female youth MP, who is in studio with us tonight. You have other people like, yes, you have other affirmative action groups, persons with disabilities, youth, you have workers. I have no idea what the workers MP do in that house. I've been asking those questions.
They work.
Actually, apart from working, I don't know what they do. And I have some of them, they're my friends, but I have no idea who they represent
ask them their job
in the house.
description.
Yes, and you have you have the army representatives, whom I also have no idea what they do in that. We apologize. We had a fairly long break, some technical issues, some technical glitches, which have since been sorted out, and we'll be opening our lines. Let's bring this discussion back here, and we can broaden it to the world. We are watching the biggest, a major election in the United States of America. One, we must appreciate that the Americans didn't allow women to vote until I think 1960s.
Yes.
Until the 1960s, they didn't allow women to vote. Now you have a woman who is described in every measure as someone who has broken the glass ceiling, becoming the first woman to be nominated by a major party to run for president, who is Hillary Clinton. Now, Ona has issues. She's been, she was Secretary of State, which is a very important position. She was First Lady for 8 years and had been First Lady for Arkansas when her husband was governor. The bigger question is, what is dominating the discussion in the last weeks of this election is still women. Ona. Trump and his women, today, as we speak now, I think by the time we get out of here, he'll have knocked a dozen women complaining about him and his behavior. And they're saying, why bring these things up? They happened in 1980, so many years ago. And people asking, Mr. Trump, you picked women and brought them to a press conference before last week's debate to bring a discussion that, yes, Bill Clinton is not running in this election. Hillary Clinton is. But to bolster his numbers, he had brought Bill Clinton's shenanigans to try and destroy the wife's candidature. Now, where does this put us in this affirmative action debate?
Well, I think this is one of those very interesting, but of course intriguing situations around the women Because on one hand, we definitely want women to come to the fore, and they have come and they have proven themselves. But the reality of the nature of relations between men and women, I mean, people cannot wish it away. So at the end of the day, when we are talking serious stuff, then really the soft stuff, what is almost private, also reveals itself. That you can't run away from being a man, you can't run away from being a woman. Because some people tend to try and confuse that if you are liberated, then you are not a woman in the natural way. You have to be tough. But these things show that there are certain moments when women are women and men are men. That's the reality.
Regina, locker room talk, that's what Trump called it. This whole controversy around women, at a time like this, historical for women, in the candidate of Hillary Clinton. What's your reading of it?
My reading, of course, is that wherever women are, issues of gender always emerge. You have issues of patriarchy emerging. And for me, that's what is playing. That wherever you are, be it in the developed or in the developing country, such issues will always emerge, except that the context changes. That's it. Yeah.
Anne, your take. You're watching this election.
Well, it's been a terrible one. It's so much smear campaign. And again, I think that because Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton, the first thing that makes her unique in the election is that she's a woman. No, is that she's a woman. So it's both her strength and Trump does play a lot to make it her weakness. Either way, that it's about women. It's women are what's their worth. I don't know, it shouldn't really focus on her being a woman and using women again to try and discredit her campaign. Still brings it down to women. It's not about her being a woman.
The women are being used. If you use the word use, the women are being fronted to destroy Donald Trump's campaign as we speak now.
Well, he's doing the same thing. I think
the irony
it's not new.
The irony there is that while Clinton wants to say we are shattering the ceiling, by her supporters sort of saying to bring women from a sex point of view, they are again presenting women as, for lack of a better word, sex objects.
Yeah,
And
that's a disadvantage because at the end of the day, it puts the woman back to where we are coming from. If you follow the story of Anita Hill and that American judge who was being appointed in the time of Bush the First, Anita Hill had a story about sexual harassment by the judge, and you know what he did on the other hand? He got women to back him up and say she was a liar. So it was like contrary forces. She's a woman trying to protect her right to dignity, and fellow women are here being used to again discredit her.
Has affirmative action not run its course?
No, it hasn't.
Whether in America or here in Uganda,
It has not.
This American example,
it has not.
This example of America, which is I think one of the most ideal democracies, shows us that they also are still arriving. Because it's also about mindset. It's about mindset, and if the people who are being disadvantaged because of these disparities are not having a change in mindset to feel empowered to make decisions on their own, then it speaks a lot about they have a long way to go.
Let's bring in another quick example, another international example. The Nigerian example. Honor.
Always honor.
That was the most hilarious story. But again, it was so unique that the husband and wife could disagree in Africa, for that matter. That was quite unique. And they are, again, with no disrespect to religion, I mean, they are of the Muslim faith, which is seen in many respects to have ladies more subservient, but then she stands up to her man. But again, that's Nigeria for you. But I think it shows that women, as we have just discussed, are trying to be assertive, which is good.
Break the glass ceiling.
Break the glass ceiling, including within the first family. Make sure that the guy is doing the right thing. Maybe
I'm told there's another very powerful woman in one of the countries in sub-Saharan Africa, who was featuring on an interview on the BBC and was asked about whether she has any ambitions for the presidency, and she refused to answer that question.
Which one?
In this part of sub-Saharan Africa.
She's the Minister of Education in some country, and she refused to answer the part of whether she actually intends to succeed her
But
husband
you see,
in
Charles,
the presidency.
for me, in a nutshell, all these examples from across the globe basically show that, like in a family, men and women have to work together. I don't think we are going to say that if women were leading, things would be better. Of course, men have led, and in many respects, things have never been better. So it means simply that women need to come to the fore, and they should not try to argue that maybe the world is going wrong because women are not in leadership. Even if women were exclusive in leadership, I don't think the world would be better. We need both women and men to work in harmony to make the world a better place.
And is it yes.
I think we really should not use featuring in leadership as the ultimate, the one criterion that makes so much sense when you're explaining affirmative action. That's just a tidbit of it. No, I think we should use the entire society. We should use the mindset. Has it really changed? Because the challenges
I thought
that
affirmative action was a representation in political leadership positions was
It's just
supposed to
part of
drive
it.
the change of mindset.
Yeah.
To say, look, if the speaker is a woman, she's actually run an excellent 5-year term, she's won a second term as speaker, and you cannot compare, if you come to do a comparison of leadership of parliament, the 6th parliament, the 7th parliament, the 8th parliament, the 9th parliament, and now the 10th parliament. The discussion is not on whether she is a woman and the others were men. The discussion is this speaker and the other speaker, who was a better speaker. And I thought affirmative action was supposed to drive us to that place.
No, Charles.
Why does it seem to
please don't look at parliamentary representation as no. Affirmative action was supposed to help all women get out of the kitchen to the forefront. Now, those ones who are in politics are not even 20% of the women we are supposed to help in our country. So political representation.
They're what percentage of parliament? They're what percentage of parliament?
I think there would be about 30.
About 30?
About 35%. But it's erroneous
You have a
to use
parliament
that as a grid.
of 437. 427 plus the other ones who came from the new districts.
The new 5 districts.
The new 5 districts. You have a parliament of about 432.
432.
It's about
433.
433. Yes. If you have 433 and 117 of them are women, that's about what percentage?
Charles, don't take it to percentages of women who are in parliament.
Okay.
Let's talk
Look
the
at the
girl
numbers.
child.
Yes.
No, let's talk about the girl child. Because you see, when you speak about women in politics, you're going to speak about the same faces. You'll talk about the speaker. That's pretty obvious. Since affirmative action for women in parliament began, we have had the same key figures. They'll tell you should be like Queen Byanyima, Miriam Matembe. It's the same people. But how many young girls are we losing in the system who we are supposed to help? The problem with this affirmative action about representation in parliament is it was too politicized. Too politicized that it gave the semblance of women getting there, but they are not even halfway there.
Isn't that
because
exactly the problem?
if we still have girls in the Pokot culture who are offering themselves to go and for female genital mutilation without understanding the challenges it could have on their health, then yes, we still have a long way to go. If we still have families where boy children are prioritized when it comes to school fees, we still have a long way to go. If children are still being taught at school that fathers are the head of the family, yes, we still have a long way to go. And women in politics should not blind us that affirmative action is just about that. No, it should be bigger.
I hear you, Regina.
Yes.
That we can, Anne just said it, that we can look with nostalgia at the icons of women representation on the political arena. Winnie Byanyima, Miriam Matembe,
Rebecca Kadaga.
That we're still so nostalgic about their time means something has gone amiss along the way.
Yes, yes.
What went wrong?
That's what I mentioned earlier, that there is a challenge in terms of the old mentoring the young people. There is something that the Mirias, the Byanyimas did that the current
Sanitary was a church, I think she's making 90, she was in church, they were talking about her today. Rhoda
yes,
Kalema.
yes. That caliber of women leaders had one, passion for whatever they were pushing for, but they also mentored. Some of us are their product. And when they mentored, now you see a number of women who are, for example, in leadership positions, in not necessarily politicians, but in other positions. But what is Honorable is saying is that we need to unpack the affirmative action beyond the politics. That if these women are in affirmative position, how have they used those positions to help the unprivileged, the less fortunate women, girls, boys, and children of this country?
Can I tell you what
that's what we are saying.
Can I tell you the word people use out there?
Yes.
That those in the political leadership arrived.
They arrived.
Yes.
And that's why we are actually saying that is wrong. If they have arrived, let them use that arrival of theirs to help the others.
Wait, I want to disagree with Regina on the women in parliament being not only the benchmark, but having the wholesome responsibility. Yes, it is true.
To some extent, yes.
But it's bigger than those women in parliament. We are speaking about a parliament which writes reports that are not acted upon by the executive. It's literally toothless. So you can't put the baggage of having to move affirmative action from them to people below on them.
Let me ask a question.
Why are they there? Why are they there? Why are they there?
So they should not feature, because you see, we shall sit and speak debate SDGs, debate SDG number 5 on gender equality.
Yes.
Speak about the need to facilitate girls' reproductive health, latrines in every school, get them sanitary towels. We shall speak about it in parliament and make directions, but the executive will not do it.
Let me ask a question. Two questions really. One is, one of the presidential candidates, actually the winning presidential candidate in the February election, President Yoweri Museveni, one of the major promises he made was sanitary towels for girls so that they can stay in school.
Yes.
We've been running. I had someone came to parliament, raised a motion seeking leave of parliament to present a private member's bill on what? Lifting age limit. No one is talking about, Mr. President, you made a promise. What's going on? It's not in the budget. And I'm wondering, if I'm a girl child, or for all the girl children out there, in school watching this show, or their parents watching this show, they're asking, if I have 117 women in that house, none of them has raised this question about sanitary towels. Something is wrong.
Exactly.
Well, okay, I'm in the light now because I sit in the house.
Yes.
But I have seen it's not just about only parliament. I've seen women activists speaking about the president delivering on his promise. But again, all these things of always taking them back to the president, he's like the Alpha and the Omega. No, I mean, parliament should exercise its powers beyond just.
I should have had a protest. I should have had a protest. I don't know if there's a women's caucus in that parliament. There's caucus for everything.
There is.
I would have had a protest saying, we'll not pass this budget until we see the sanitary towels.
And they would have done us good. They would have really done us good if they did that.
Taking a lead from Honorable Adeke, I think the problem should go beyond the president or below the president. Say that the women leaders needs to tackle this from a societal challenge. If young girls are not having sanitary towels in homes, are we sure that these homes are not using money for other things? That the fathers are perhaps not using money for other things, and the mother, are they priority within the home? Does it have to take government to handle the budget of every household? So these are issues that can really not necessarily be solved by government. It means the women movement needs to tackle issues amongst even ordinary women. Talk to
And
them
which we are
and explain
doing.
to them.
I'm
What
afraid-
we are actually
I'm
doing to the house.
I'm afraid we need to take a quick commercial break.
Which we are doing.
Let's come back and see where it should go after a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this last segment of the Fourth Estate. And we're discussing, has affirmative action not run its course? Should we still talking about affirmative action so many years later and having brought so many leaders to the top? But looking at the global perspective, Angela Merkel, who's the German chancellor, has run a very good course. She decides to undertake one of the most humane policy positions to allow in refugees, and now it's thanking her presidents. I mean her chancellorship. It's in a bit of trouble, and of course the British will be seeing where they end up, and of course all the eyes of the world are on Argentina. The president had very turbulent times and was actually thrown out of office. Argentina, Brazil, the Brazilian president. But we're watching the American election much more closely. And Nicholas, thank you very much. Nicholas has helped us. The American judge you're trying to refer to is Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
Justice Clarence Thomas.
Black guy.
When we come back to domestics, and our phone line is on your screen. Yes, I'm told we have callers already. So let's pick a few callers, and we'll continue with the discussion. Hello? Hello?
Hello,
Yes, please. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm George from Kampala.
Go ahead with your question or comment. Keep it brief, please. You said George or Josh?
Yes, George,
George. Yes, go ahead, George.
but somebody's really talking on the phone.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, George.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so Charles, I don't know what you guys are smoking in the studio there. These ladies are so animated with a lot of emancipation and so on.
Yes.
But I'll tell you something.
Go ahead.
Whether you knock your head on a tree or do what you want to do, society will be controlled by men all the time.
Isn't that
So if-
chauvinist? Some people call that chauvinist.
No.
I'll try.
You need to fix the men.
Yes.
So if the men are not sorting out things that are falling short, sort out the men, and so it will improve. Otherwise, you push these things for even 300 years. It's never going to happen. We are cut out to lead society, to be leaders as men. Ladies are not. Ladies are supposed to assist the men, to help the men, not to come and usurp the powers that be.
Okay.
Believe you me, this thing will run forever. And even the ladies who are in parliament are not doing much to help their people. You just put the pads and they're all in shock and awe. Yeah, they're just there. And then occasionally the government guys will use them to run a few votes here and there, pass a few crazy bills. But believe you me, if you want to fix society, fix the men. Just like a family, if you want to fix the family, fix the man.
Okay.
You sort out the man in the house and the home will be in order.
I think that's a very interesting take, George. I will have the ladies respond to that. No, the guests respond to that, not just because they're ladies. Hello, we have another caller. Hello? Hello? Is that caller 9? Hello? Let's have another caller. Hello?
Hello,
Yes, sir. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm called Martin, calling from Masaka.
Yes, Martin.
Yeah, Mbarara.
Are you in Masaka or in Mbarara?
Masaka.
Masaka. Just go ahead and make your comment or ask a question.
Yeah, I'm hearing about women in parliament. When you look at women in parliament, I don't see they have any help. Most of them probably are there to look for help them, but I don't see they have any help to other women around. Then what we should just accept is, much as women are trying to push, they should just accept that they are weaker persons when it comes to issues of management. This one, we cannot remove it totally. So women should take it that there are things that they cannot do and they should accept that they cannot do it.
Are the men curing those things? Are the men in parliament of any help, actually?
Now, like for the case where you say the president promised sanitary pads for the ladies, there are over 200 women in parliament. Why couldn't they follow up on that?
Well, there are less than 120 MPs, ladies in parliament.
Hello?
They're less than 120. They're not 200. They're not over 200. Over 200 would mean half of parliament is women, which is not the case.
There's no problem, but even that number would help them to push for whatever they want. So when you look at it, we don't really see what's their contribution totally. They would not even be explaining, they would not be even complaining. The number that they have in parliament is able to push for what women would really do.
Thank you, Martin. We have another caller. Hello? Hello? Do you have a caller?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, we can hear you.
I'm trying to call into NTV.
Yes, your name. You have called into the studio. You've called into Fourth Estate. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Keep your question or comment brief.
Oh, this is Charles.
Yes.
Bob Wachiso.
Yes, Bob.
Yes. Good evening. Yes.
I'm listening.
So, the Honorable Adeke.
Yes.
You cannot disassociate the people who have already made it in Parliament from this issue. If those big people there cannot handle it, how do you expect these other guys to take? We are looking at them to solve some of these things. You cannot disassociate them from this thing. They have to be in the vanguard of those who are trying to change the things.
Okay.
Yes, and secondly, men are the head of the family, really. Yes? So these are some of the things we just can't run away from. So as Mr. Komoloit is saying, in the end, we just have to work together. Men and women just have to work together, not one group trying to phase out the other or something like that. That's my contribution.
Thank you. I need to ask a question. Where are the women? Why aren't they calling?
Please. They're probably getting stuck there. Your lines are busy.
Stuck where? Let's make another call and see. Maybe it will be a lady. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes, your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Deo Kasoze. I'm calling from Luzira.
Yes, Deo, go ahead.
African traditional societies have really put the men ahead of women. But at the same time, we have a lot of beliefs, and we believe in many documents, for example, the Bible. And the Bible has put men at forefront of women. Sometimes because of too much beliefs, we think really that it was fit for God to say the men should be ahead of women. I'm not necessarily saying that the women should really be behind, but I want the ladies in studio to clarify what of the Bible aspect of the women and the men.
Okay.
I know that is a very long debate, but you need to think a lot and see that should also be considered as they are debating to bring about emancipation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deo. Thank you very much. Let's just take one more caller. Maybe it will be a lady. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, please. It's another gentleman. Yes, we can hear you. Your name and where you're calling from?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you. Your name and where you're calling from? You're listening to yourself on TV. Just turn the volume down.
Hi, Mr. Chai.
Yes, please. How are you, sir? Can you turn off your TV set? Turn off the volume. Turn down the volume, rather. Hello? I think we can pick that. We'll just need to go on. Ladies in studio. George, Martin, Bob, Deo. No need to get. Oh, now let's start with you.
No, I think
some of these are agreeing with you.
Yes, I think the men may be seen as saying the usual things men would say, but I think really there is some reality to the arguments that yes, we all, remember my first statement that the greatest creation of God was a woman, and no man can ever pretend that you can be in a world without women, and there would be no spice to life without women in different respects. But I also strongly agree that this cat race...
Anne is taking exception to the word you just used.
That
women are just a spice.
No, look.
Never the main course.
Look, these are figurative. Please,
not the key ingredient.
No, this figurative usage you may say, because I just said, without a mom, certainly there's no spice to your life. If you're a child, you need your mom.
Just a spice. That's like the whole meal. That's the whole meal.
That's a key ingredient.
Yes.
There will be no meal for that matter. Yeah, but I think the argument, as the guys have said, is that really trying to have a parallel world of men and women is just unrealistic. We need a complementary world.
We have very short time to end this discussion. One string runs across the comments that most of the callers gave. And I was asking the first caller, George, if his position was not chauvinistic. You would put the same question to Martin in Masaka. You would say the same to Bob.
And to Dale.
And to Dale, in a way.
Yeah.
So I need you to respond. These are not my questions. These are views from the viewers.
I think what runs and what the men are representing are societal perception of the women. And that, to me, that is something that needs to be changed, that we need to continuously talk about women's position in the world, women's rights in this country, that their rights need to be protected, promoted, and respected. This is about rights. Already is talking of women being a spice, and I felt uncomfortable.
No, that's a figurative usage. Forget about other things.
Fine, it's okay. But you see, when you use
there are
that...
issues about figurative usage.
Yes.
Locker room talk of Donald Trump is...
You see, when you use that, somebody else may take it literally. And that comes to trivializing women's issues. And that's what we are talking about. And that's why I think the callers have actually pointed out issues that relate to chauvinism, relate to dominancy, and relate to stereotyping. That is it. Yeah.
Anne, what's your take?
Well,
How do you respond to this?
I really like what these callers have said. I think that they have really ended our evening on a good note. When we say that we have not arrived in terms of affirmative action, we mean it. These are urban centers, these are urban callers, and they are speaking in such a way. We all know what religion has done when it comes to subduing women, and someone is citing it, and they've taken offense in us saying that even women can be heads of households. You have seen families that are headed by women, and there are families in the truest meaning of it. So I think these callers have just helped me bring my point home that we really have not arrived. The mindset is not there yet. Men have not appreciated that it's important to have women equally featuring in the decision making.
But Charles,
what would you say to someone? We're ending this show.
One of the biggest enemies of the women movement or women liberation, sometimes the women themselves. For example, in this country, we have had 2 presidential elections featuring women candidates. Their performance was dismal. Unless if the women say that these candidates did not represent women.
Yes,
but
yes, I agree. I agree with you. Those are challenges of the women movement, by the way, and we acknowledge them. Because even in Kenya, Martha Karua stood, and of course, when it comes to population distribution, there are many more women in Kenya than men.
Yeah.
And the percentage...
Just like they are in Uganda.
Yes. She didn't get as many votes. But also, the women need to get there. You see, when we talk about mindset, we're not talking about only the men. Even the women need to realize that they are equal. They feature equally. So it's not just men we are trying to get out of this abyss. It's also women.
And then
there's something I read out of this as we end this show. There's something I read out of this. That, Regina, your years of investment and commitment to this women cause is not delivering fruit on the ground. And that the years of having women represented in politics is actually not registering with these people. So what is the problem?
No, it's because it's all political. Having women featuring in politics does not account for affirmative action at its best. And if that's just a tidbit of it.
And if you have women heading Uganda Revenue Authority, Kampala Capital City Authority, Uganda National Roads Authority,
again, but how many are those out of the 52%? How many are those?
You tell me. What your investment, your investment, your commitment, all the nights you spend working on this.
As earlier mentioned, of course we are making progress. We are making progress, but of course there is need to increase on the efforts, and this is not a one person's struggle. It needs concerted efforts. We are making progress, I should say, but of course we still need to have more made. Yeah.
Our time is up. We need to get out of here. Thank you very much, Anne. Thank you very much, Regina. Thank you very much, Ona. And of course, we're ending this. It's been the week of the girl child. Yeah, we just ended the week of the girl child and a lot of calls. Interesting that during this week is when Boko Haram decided to release 21 girls from Chibok. They had abducted. And there was that cancer run yesterday by Reverend Diana Kesega, the Kesega Foundation, which is pushing to, her target is modest, but quite ambitious, though you'd say modest. She wants to put 200 children, because her focus is on children, 200 children onto comprehensive cancer care. If she succeeds and calling on people to lend her hand. And lastly, as we get out of here, one of the major discussions going on in this country today is what President Museveni talked about again the other day, that his government, he and his government are committed to getting Uganda Airlines back in the skies, flying again. And some of the debates, including an article I saw, I think in the New Vision, on Thursday or Friday, a very, very well articulated article by Jim Mugunga, talking about why we may not necessarily need Uganda Airlines to fly the Uganda flag. You need to read, and I have had comments about why Uganda Airlines cannot fly, looking at regional examples, Rwanda, which is heavily subsidized by the Rwanda government, Rwanda Air, Kenya Airways, which is heavily subsidized by the Kenyan government. But I think the East African, which is on the street, is running a story on an audit of Kenya Airways and why it has ended up in the trouble it has ended up. It's got nothing to do with potential profitability of an airline. It's just about corruption and theft. So you fix corruption, find the right people, you can have anything running. You fail to fix it, you'll have nothing running.
Put women in charge.
I know, Anna. Thank you very much.
That's the best way we can end.
Thank you very much to all our viewers for joining us tonight, and always thank you very much to the production crew that stays up late to deliver the show to you. And of course, you keep us going for watching, keeping support to this show, and thank you very much. From me, it's a good night.